Center in Harlem and Long Island. And Dr. Mackey invited us to come here tonight to talk about the importance of nutrition and, a healthy lifestyle. So, all right, so I'd like to just talk a little bit about how I got into wellness and how I learned about nutrition and how it's so, vital and key in just transforming your life to help your lifestyle. So, about 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And so I'm not sure if you all know what endometriosis is, but it's a female problem. Actually, Dr. Bryson is an OBGYN, so maybe just for a minute you can just give them a better explanation of what endometriosis is.
Yes, endometriosis is basically a condition in where the lining of the uterus can end up going into the body. And it's not clearly understood how it happens, but basically the tissue where you would have your menstrual cycle come out from is the same tissue that ends up going backwards and getting inside of your body and causes, for some people, excruciating pain. For others, it's not as bad. Some people, you could see that it looks inside really bad, but they don't have a lot of pain. And sometimes the disease itself could be microscopic, meaning that we can't see it, but yet it causes a lot of pain. So endometriosis is a very common condition today that a lot of women suffer from.
Thank you, Dr. Bryson. And so for me, it was excruciating. I had excruciating pain. I had 3 laparoscopies, which were surgical procedures where they went in because I had, endometrial tissue everywhere, growing all over, like inside of my body. And so I had 3 laparoscopies where they would go in and burn like the endometrial tissue. And so then finally, 3 different doctors said, you know what, you need to have a hysterectomy. And basically they wanted to gut me, take out my womb, my fallopian tubes, my ovaries, everything. But that I didn't feel right doing that, although I was in pain, and I sought out like natural solutions. And I was introduced to someone who's now my mentor, and she guided me through transforming my life to eating better, having a herbal regimen to my adding an herbal regimen to my diet, and where the doctors told me I would never have children. I had 3 daughters. Uh, um, and I never suffered from endometriosis again. And so I am a testament to, you can transform your life, you can transform your health by what you eat. So, yeah.
So next I'm going to talk about the importance of eating an alkaline diet or food that's electric, non-hybrid, plant-based diet. And that is, something that we really don't know about because everything that we eat is just the opposite. And we should let our food be our medicine. Um, we should let our food be our medicine. The body has the ability to heal itself with nutrient-dense food. The problem is we've gotten so used to feeling bad that we forgot what it's like to feel good. And unfortunately, I said alkalinity. A lot of people don't even really know. Does anybody know what I'm talking about by saying alkaline? Versus acidic, right? So most of the things that we eat, the processed foods, the fried foods, and a lot of the foods that we have passed down from generation to generation in our community is really the root of our problem. So if we want to fix that problem, we have to recognize that the foods that we're so used to are really the foods that we shouldn't be eating. And if we go back to the times when we were slaves and all of that, many of the foods that we eat today are still from that time. And we're not in that position anymore. And we should think about how we can change our lifestyle and it will require us to really do a complete turnaround. But the benefits that you would get from that turnaround would be something that you wouldn't even imagine. I mean, once you get to a certain age, um, the inflammation all over our body um, is so rampant that it's just like a normal cycle of things. So also too, um, our body, what percentage of our body is water? Right, somewhere between 60 to 70%. And isn't it ironic that what's the percentage of water in the whole world? If you look at the whole entire Earth, 70% of the Earth is water. So we all have to recognize that water is very important and it helps every function in our body. But yet, most people are dehydrated. Most people don't drink enough water. All of us know, your doctor, everyone tells you drink more water, drink more water. But with the busy lifestyle and all of the different things that we can drink instead of water that taste good and make us want more are exactly the opposite of what we should be drinking.
And just to expand a little bit more on what Dr. Bryson just said is like a lot of the foods that we eat are hybrids. They're GMO. You have seedless fruits, seedless grapes and watermelon. Although we think we're eating healthy, those foods, those fruit, those vegetables do not have the sufficient minerals and vitamins that our body needs. So it's very important to, you know, um, incorporate organic produce, fruits and vegetables into your diet. If you have a choice between seedless and non-seedless, you want to go with the seedless. There are a lot of fruit. I'm sorry,
Seeded.
Yeah, seeded. Yeah, yeah. um, exactly. Yeah, and then also, you have a lot of hybrid foods where they mix, an orange and a tangerine, and then I forget what it's called. But again, you want to stay away from that. You want to eat an orange, you want to eat a tangerine. You don't want to eat those hybrid foods because you don't get the proper nutrition from it.
So going into the quality of food, for the food to be quality, the soil has to be quality. And seedless produce, hybrid foods, they all lack vitamins and minerals. And what is the body really calling for? It needs vitamins and minerals. But the food that you're eating doesn't have any vitamins and any minerals. It has a very low amount. I talked about the quality of the soil. When you plant hybrid and man-made foods into the ground, it destroys the soil. And that's why in many places in America, nothing will grow. Because we've gotten to the point where we mixed in those hybrids into the soil so the natural seeds don't flourish in it. So we have to recognize that this is like, we're getting to a point of no return. And places, I can give you reference to places that I'm familiar with outside of the country, like the Caribbean. Certain islands in the Caribbean have very rich soil, like the Dominican Republic and Haiti, that whole island. The soil is still rich because it hasn't been contaminated too much with all of these hybrid seeds and not non-natural seeds. So if you want to keep your soil fertile, you cannot mix it with inorganic or non or with inorganic seeds. So that's really key, and we have to really think about how deep that goes. So some of the things that they tell us is healthy and good for us is not. For years we thought that milk does the body good. All of the 70s and 80s, all the campaigns, people had the milk around their lip. They got celebrities and influential people to tell us that milk was so good. But now all of a sudden, we see that there's so many other milks that we could drink that are so much better for us. And you've got to think about this. What do we feed our babies? Milk. cow's milk. We should be feeding them breast milk. That's the best. Mother Nature, no one's better than Mother Nature. So, but we let people convince us with marketing and advertising that things that were not natural and made for us, cow's milk is good for a cow milk, not us. But we let marketing and advertising condition our mind to think that that's what we should drink because someone told us. But did we fact check them and see that what they were telling us was actually true?
Just to interject for a second, we're the only species that drinks another species' milk. You don't have a horse drinking a cow's milk. You don't have a monkey drinking a cow's milk. But we're drinking a cow's milk.
So that's a excellent point. And there's so many, things that we have been led to believe that are accurate. But they're so far from the truth. And when we talk about, I'll give you a little example, even when we think something's healthier, it's not necessarily. So I can ask you, a lime and a lemon, which one came first? Which is the real one and which one is the fake one? Does anyone know? No. The lime. They made the lemon from the lime. So the lemon is a hybrid. Key lime. And key lime is the best. So everything that we don't know which one came first. We're so confused today and we lack knowledge. Even me as a doctor, I went to medical school for 4 years. And, they probably taught us nutrition. Of all the first 2 years of my medical school, I probably got a half a day for my whole medical education in nutrition. But I guess it makes sense, big pharma.
It's intentional.
Big business. And what they did is they changed the way that medical school would teach the young doctors. The Rockefellers, they changed it all. And they said that if you don't, comply with our way, of educating these young doctors, then you won't get funded. So it's deep.
And the food pyramid that we thought we should be following is actually not what we should be following. That is just the what do you want to say? The path to an unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy body.
And what you could think about is the thing that we're so dependent on. Most of us said there's no way I can live without it is meat, right? If I say to everyone in the room, you have to stop eating meat, how many people will be okay with that? One. So usually be like two. Oh, no. Yeah, I'll ask you now. So I got 3 people. So cool. So if I said no more meat, nothing, you'll be okay. Meat. I'm saying any animal product, meaning the common things that we eat: beef, chicken, pork, fish. Fish is in there. Fish is in there.
It's flesh.
It's flesh. Yeah.
Turkey.
Turkey's
the meat.
Everything. All of those things. Lamb, sheep, goat, all of that.
So my thing is when you're transitioning, everything in moderation, right? So I mean, some people are able to go cold turkey and just stop, but it's a gradual process. So maybe you can start with eliminating first the red meat, then try the chicken, or maybe eating it once a month. But the less is definitely better.
So why is meat not so good for you? What's the number one cause of death in America? What happens to most people? Yes, heart attack and stroke. And they're all on the same spectrum. So a heart attack is you get a blockage in the vessels of your heart. A stroke is you get a clogging of the vessels in your brain. But guess what? It's all coming from plaques, those cholesterol plaques, which most of it is coming from fat, from the meat and the oils that we should not be eating.
So So I guess, you know, the question is, why do we eat, and what happens to the food we eat? Um, we eat obviously for vitality. Um, when we understand, the answer to that question of why we eat, then we can appreciate, um, the nature of health and disease. So everything that we eat does one of two things. It either heals the body or hurts the body. Everything. Yeah. So food consumption is vital. We eat for additional energy. Cells need an external source of energy to sustain themselves in activity. For energy to rebuild and to repair. The thing is that we assume that all foods that are edible is usable by the body, that it can be assimilated, and that's not true. So refined sugars, dairy, meat products, processed food, none of that can be assimilated by the body. And it's extremely important what we put in our bodies because our gut health is, the source of our I would say our health. So if you have, a gut that is stagnated because you put in all of that processed food, all of that refined food, all of the sugars, all of the meat, and it's stagnant, it's not moving, then you have a problem. So there's, you know, there's, I guess, 5 processes in consuming or eating foods, right? You eat the food, then you have digestion, then you have absorption, you have utilization, and then you have elimination. If one of those processes is impaired, the body suffers. And that's all contingent on what we're putting in our body.
So a good example is that corn. A lot of people, corn is GMO. It's difficult to digest, and we see it come out too. Sometimes in its whole form.
Most times in its whole form. Yeah.
Most of the times in its whole form. So, the gut. If we think about it, what is the role of the intestinal gut? It's to be able to absorb nutrients, vitamins, and minerals, energize your body. A lot of things that we think will, everybody, in talking about energy, we eat food because we want energy. So the typical American breakfast is bacon, eggs, and muffins and cereals and all of that. And then you need a cup of coffee because you didn't get anything from your food. But
Energy.
if you ate fruits and vegetables, electric food, our body is electrical. So if you eat electrical things, you will get that energy that the body is craving. So I say all of this to say that when you eat things that clog the gut, which is most of the food that we're eating, what happens is you think about the lining. It should be smooth. It shouldn't have anything that's stuck on it. But all the things that we're eating, they're not all coming out. As Teresa said, you can either have a problem with absorption, utilization, elimination, and if the gut is not working, that's most of our immunity is in our gut. And
80% of our immune cells are in your gut.
and if that gut is, just think of it, if we're trying to absorb something, but there's a plaque there of old digestive material that is stuck in there, how well are we actually absorbing food that we're eating?
And or eliminating.
So the way we have to think about it is every time you eat, you should go to the bathroom. So if you're going to the bathroom every other day, what's happening? You're not going. So where's it at? It's still inside.
Putrefying in your gut.
It does. It's breaking down and it's there. So you got to think every time you eat, you're supposed to go to the bathroom. So if your body is functioning properly, you should have at least a couple of bowel movements
per day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the less you go to the bathroom, the worse off you are. You go to
Absolutely.
the bathroom.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a good point. So the baby's digestive system is as good as it's ever going to be. Is as good as it's going to be. So it does exactly what it's supposed to do.
And so think about it. If you have like a pot of rice on the stove and you leave it there covered, right, and it's warm, the next day, what it's going to be, and what are you going to have in the rice? Maggots, worms, because it's fermenting, putrefying, and that's what's happening in your gut. And so a lot of people, in addition to not being able to eliminate, they now have parasites in their gut because you have all of that food just sitting there in your gut, not going anywhere. And that is the basis for diseases. So, we're all sick at different stages of our individual pathology. Um, you know, not so all diseases, I would say 95% of diseases comes from the following things: either a buildup of mucus, acidity, or inflammation. And all of that stems from food. So what happens is if you have, excess inflammation or wherever those things manifest in the body, then that's the name the name of the disease that the doctors give it. But if you look at the root, it's always one of three things: mucus buildup, inflammation, or acidity. And again, this comes from the food that we eat and also due to, things like in the environment, pollutants and chemicals. And then also what you put on your skin. But the largest percent is what you consume, what you digest.
But I'll add to that. The skin is the largest organ in our body. And you should only put on your skin what you can eat.
Absolutely.
So if you can't eat it, it shouldn't go on your skin. So we should not be putting lotions and all of because you can't eat it. And look at the back of the bottle of your lotion. You can't. We can eat coconut oil. You can eat that. So you can put that on your skin. All the other things that they condition us to believe so we can smell good is really toxic to our body.
Mhm.
And when you look at your shampoo, the conditioner, how many ingredients are in there? Can you even pronounce them? Do you know where they are? They're just chemicals. So our skin, our scalp absorbs that. So we all have to think. We even what our clothes are made out of. What we wash them in.
Even sending your clothes to the dry cleaners, the chemicals that they use, just everything, basically.
So you see between what we eat and what we put on, our skin and our body to cover it, all of it is full of toxins.
So, given that we know that, we should be more conscious in what we're eating, what we're consuming, and putting in our body.
And what I could tell you is over the last few years, America has become more conscious because we see that we have these cleaning laundry detergents that don't have as many chemicals. You know, it's the word is out. People know that if you're using those typical cleaning agents, they're not any good. And that some companies said, no, we're going to try our best to do a little better. And so many of the things that we want to go out and buy, we can make in the house. And it's not that difficult. Most of the things, if you use vinegar, it's amazing. And a lot of things that we put in our body, like Coca-Cola, can clean your toilet bowl better than 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 the stuff that you're using.
No,
But we're putting that in our body.
absolutely right.
Listerine was, it was an antiseptic that they used to clean And now we're, you know, rinsing our mouth out with that, drying our mouth out, killing the good bacteria, and we wonder why everybody's teeth falls out. The fluoride in the toothpaste, toxin. They tell us you need fluoride, it's going to make your teeth stronger. No, it makes all our teeth fall out. How many people get to 60 years old and have teeth in America?
But this is all you can get toothpaste without fluoride. You can get natural toothpaste like Tom's of Maine. There's no fluoride. There's definitely toothpaste out there that you can use that don't have fluoride.
So now we spoke about
No, I'm sorry, she just wanted to ask
Oh,
a
sure,
question.
she can ask. You can ask a question. Of course, ask a question.
No, it's
No.
not. And even right, I also use peroxide. Peroxide.
So the good toothpaste has baking soda and peroxide, but they add fluoride. So if you can get a baking soda and peroxide toothpaste without fluoride, you're doing good. And no one's going to tell you that oil pulling or swishing coconut oil in your mouth is the best thing to kill the bacteria
Absolutely.
and the germs.
Yep.
And you should swish, not swallow the coconut oil in your mouth for 20 minutes. You could do that a couple of times a week. You would decrease your gingivitis, getting cavities. And these are things that we never heard of.
Even neem is great, and you can use neem to brush your teeth, and it helps to whiten your teeth as well. Neem, Neem. Mm-hmm.
So I just want to stress the fact that we have a wonderful thing called the internet. And you could, just like how we can get all these recipes, you can find ways to make cleaning products. You can make your own toothpaste, and it's all natural, and it'll do your body good as opposed to what we're putting.
I use peroxide to disinfect my bathroom. I'm sorry. Oh. But all of this is intentional, right? Because
Basically, um, big pharma is a big business.
the billion-dollar business, the billion-dollar industry.
Healthcare, which I'm part of as a physician, is a billion-dollar business. So if we had, where would my job be if no one got sick? What would I have a job? If everyone stayed healthy, you wouldn't need as many doctors. If everyone stayed healthy, we wouldn't need all of these pharmaceutical companies coming out with new drugs to treat conditions that, if we went back to basics, we could get rid of, because the body can heal itself and does heal itself if we remove the toxins, whether they be from the ones that we put in our mouth or the ones that we put in our skin.
The body's a wonderful machine. God didn't make any mistakes. He didn't make any mistakes.
And they've even conditioned us. What we have now is an epidemic of antibiotic resistance. And people they don't feel like they got a treatment if we didn't give them an antibiotic. But what they don't recognize is that antibiotics are for bacterial infections. Many of the infections, like COVID, they're viral infections. So antibiotics shouldn't work on them. But yet people think that if you went to the doctor and you didn't come out with a prescription, you're not going to get better. But, we have to really think. The body does an amazing thing. When we get a bacterial infection, we get sick, our body gets a fever, and you sweat it out. And what happens to you when you have your fever? Where's your appetite then? Who wants to eat when they're sick? None of us. Because who created us knew what they were doing. If you put food in, you're going to feed that bacteria. So we go into a fasting state of not eating to heal our body in that time. You're burning up with fever. You have no appetite. No appetite at all. How do we know? How do I know as a doctor when patients are getting better? I'm hungry. Because when you're really sick, you're not hungry. Because the body's telling you, you don't need to eat now. You're going to feed that bacteria that's really giving you a problem if your fever is so high. So we have to recondition and retrain ourselves into um, recognizing that the body can heal.
And a fever is not necessarily a bad thing. What the fever is doing is it's letting the body know. So when you have a fever, the white blood cells increases to kill off that bacteria. So for instance, my granddaughter, when she gets a fever, I don't give her Motrin or Tylenol or any of those things. I give her probiotics. And I give her probiotics, and within 2 days, the fever's gone. So you're giving good bacteria to counter out the bad bacteria.
You are. You're contagious. That's what most of the times if you get to the point where you have those symptoms, you can give what you have to someone else. So I guess we can talk about the next thing is we talked about these toxins, and now we're going to talk about how we can get rid of them.
So can I just interject for a second? You know, you were mentioning that it's all intentional, but you know, it's strategic in what they've done, especially in our community. Like every other corner, you see a dialysis or a city MD, and then there's McDonald's, and there's the Chinese food stores, and all the pizzerias. But when you go into other communities, you don't see that. You don't have dialysis centers and city MDs on every other corner, and you don't see all of those fast food chains in their neighborhoods. And I mean, you see healthier um, supermarkets with healthier options in their neighborhoods and not in ours. I would say that probably 90% of what's in the supermarket is no good for us. 90%. Because we really should just be consuming fruits and vegetables. Everything else, we don't know the shelf life of those items in the supermarket. They're all processed, they're all made, there's dyes, especially in all of the children's products, right? So you have all of the Kellogg's cereals with all of the preservatives, the BHT and all of that. And you have all of this stuff that's supposed to be fun for the kids, the gummies, the supposedly the Welch's fruit snacks with the, blue and red dye, which is cancer causing. So this is all intentional. This is not by accident at all. At all.
And the irony is, it's just like I talked about, baby formula being cow's milk. We feed our children these cereals with all these different pretty colors in it that stimulates them, but it's terrible for them. And sometimes it overstimulates them. But at the end of the day, you get used to these bad foods from early on. So how is an adult supposed to go back and try to be really healthy when all you've known is eating these foods that you're used to, that you don't understand the harm that they're doing? And the good thing is, until you're 30 years old, you're really doing well. You can handle all of this. But once you get over 30, then you're going to start to recognize what you did in the past. So if we know we have all of these issues that we're dealing with food, then we have to think about cleansing the body, detoxifying, and fasting. And colon cleanse is good to keep the digestive tract moving and flushed out. However, we need to go further for complete healing, which is on a cellular level. The body's function is maintenance and repair, and it's important that we fast. And fasting seems like something that is very difficult for us, but you have to learn to fast, like how we learn everything else. You're not going to fast overnight. You're not going to be able to fast for 3 days if you never fasted for 1 day. But fasting for 3 days will make you feel much better. You'll be hungry. But I assure everybody in the room and all the people listening that the hardest part is the first 24 hours, like everything else. If you can fast for 24, you could probably fast for 48. And it really can help reset the body.
Yeah. So as Dr. Bryson said, cleansing, detoxing, fasting is very important. But it's also very important to do cleanse at the cellular level. So, cells are the smallest unit of life. They are electricity generating, and they are the basic building blocks of all living things. Life, death, healing, and sickness all takes place at the cellular level. Um, so what cells do, what do? They take the nutrients from the foods that we eat, and they convert them into energy to carry out their specialized function. So cells form tissues, tissues form organs, and then organs form body systems. So, how do we cleanse ourselves? There's a lot of herbs out there. There's burdock root, there's sarsaparilla, there is red clover. And so these herbs um, help to cleanse the body at the cellular level. There's also great products called Stem Cell Enhance that helps to cleanse, rebuild, and repair the cells. So, you can reverse illnesses if you're getting rid of the cells that are dying off and rebuilding and repairing the cells that you have. We have 75 to 100 million cells in our body. And the more that you repair those cells and rebuild those cells, you can, regenerate your body, rejuvenate your body. You can fight anti-aging and so forth. As I mentioned to you my story in the very beginning, I was overweight. I was about, I would say, 175 pounds. I had really bad acne, and I looked older, and I was much younger then. And I can tell you again, this is not just something that I've studied, I've lived it. This is my testimony. I'm 53 now, and I look younger now than I did when I was, 20 years ago.
And what we need to understand is that even how much we're eating is a problem, because someone told us to eat 3 meals a day, and we do it. But is there science to support that? Most of the times when we're hungry, we're really thirsty. Going back to the point that 70% of the body is water. So doesn't it make sense that what we should be putting in is 70% water and probably 30% food? And that has to be nutrient dense food. And there's other things that can help us, like we didn't mention sea moss, which
Absolutely.
is, sea moss is everyone knows what it is now, because we got so much problems with all these different diseases. But sea moss has over 90
of the vitamins and nutrients that we need. Our body requires, I think, 102, and sea moss has over 90. But going back to what Dr. Bryson said earlier on, that the soil today, is depleted of its minerals and vitamins, and that's why it's important that we, implement foods and like things like herbs and sea moss into our diet to make up for where we're lacking, right? Because the fruits and vegetables that are grown today are not as the efficacy, the potency is not as strong as it was way back when, right? Because they're out there doing everything that they can to pollute the food that we eat.
So I'll give you a little fact. An apple in 2021 has 1/6 the nutritional value of an apple from 1950. And today you can buy a bag of apples, put them on your counter, and you can't even smell them.
Absolutely. And to go a little further, if you buy a non-organic apple, it'll sit there. You can have it for weeks, and it's not going to rot. Take an organic apple, and you'll see in a couple of days. So you can tell the difference. Mm-hmm.
So there's so many, examples like that. But what I want to stress is that we won't be that hungry if we learn to stop eating so much. And what makes you want to eat more is how you start off your day. We should be fasting in the beginning of the day.
That's intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting. We don't have to wake up and eat, contrary to what anybody tells us. And if you're gonna eat, you'll have to think about what you're mixing together. There's so many ways and so many things that we have to do to be right, because everything that we're doing, mixing foods together, it's not good. Drinking after you eat as opposed to drinking before you eat messes up your digestion.
You should not drink while you're eating at all. Not at all.
And the question is why? Because it's gonna, the water, soda, juice, whatever, is gonna decrease the concentration of your acid to break down food.
But they always teach you can drink, you can drink. Not true. You should wait at least 30 minutes after you eat to drink.
And help you, all of you, start your detox process. We should drink warm key lime water, something like that, first thing in the morning. And let that go through your system. Don't put anything in for at least 30 minutes. And then if we're going to eat something, it should only be fruits and vegetables. And fruits give you the energy, the sugar, the natural sugar that your body would need for energy to replace coffee. And we could drink natural teas, as Teresa mentioned, some of them, that will help you, detox.
So breakfast is a break. You're breaking fast. And you should break your fast with fruits. And that's really the first thing you should have in the morning. And over time, you'll be like, oh my God, I'll be hungry. You won't be, if you're eating fruits. Melons are great to eat. You should always eat melons separate from other fruit. Dr. Bryson mentioned that, our body, we're mostly water. So you also consuming a lot of fruits and vegetables that have high water content, like melons, cucumbers. Those things are also good. So do you want to just give them an idea of what our diet is like?
What our diet should be like?
Well, we can talk from personal.
Oh, yeah, we try our best if you're to transition, to a healthier lifestyle. It should be with, of course, as Teresa keeps on saying, and we keep on saying, all we really need mostly is fruits and vegetables. But that's a hard concept to get used to. But what I started doing, it was 2 years ago when I met Teresa.
I dragged him kicking and screaming.
I used to eat bacon all the time, and you could see my face was puffier, everything, because you're just that American breakfast is full of toxins. We know it tastes delicious, but it really, you could look at your body. Eggs are no good. The bacon, the bagels, bagel has like double the calories of bread, but it's
gluten.
Yeah, full of gluten. And we have bagel stores everywhere, right? Even in the Caucasian and all other areas, there's bagels everywhere, but it's not any good for us. So remember, it all breaks down the sugar that we don't need.
So I just want to we'll get to that, yeah. So I just want to go back to something that Dr. Bryson said. He said that we're electrical beings. And so we need to eat food that's high in electricity, right? And so, we think of ourselves as being, there's nature and then we're outside of nature. That's not the case. We're one with nature, right? We're one with nature. And so the foods that we eat, the fruits that we eat, provided that it's non-GMO, that they're organic, they have a language. And that the language that the food have communicates without the cells in our body. And we're like, how's that possible? Well, that's God's plan. But so when you consume like a certain fruit or vegetable, or something that's high in vitamin D, that that fruit and vegetable knows what it needs to target within the body.
And it has what it needs because most of the plants, they're getting the energy from the sun.
The
They
sun.
need a lot of sun.
Exactly.
Our body, the best way for you to keep your vitamin D levels going outside and getting
The
sun without sunblock.
Without sunblock.
Okay, because vitamin D, they're talking about it even now as it relates to COVID. The people who are probably more affected with COVID have low vitamin D levels.
Absolutely.
So you got to get out. People are saying you got to let your feet touch the ground, touch the earth. You got to go out in the sun. We weren't meant to stay inside all the time.
Grounding, which is what he was just talking about, is extremely important. And it's basically connecting with nature, being one with nature. So, walking bare feet in the grass, walking bare feet on the beach.
So we have a few minutes left, so we're gonna start to tie up here. Transitioning. Where do I begin? We meet everyone at the stage where where they can transition gradually. So, as I said, we have to do lifestyle change. We have to be an example. It doesn't have to be forceful. We shouldn't be judging people because all the habits that we have, we learn them early. What I have to stress is the importance of making good choices to affect change. It can be intimidating to try to do all that we said tonight, but our only purpose here is to help everyone get started on the new journey, not for you to do all of this all at once.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. And then a lot of people are like, okay, so if I stop eating this, what am I going to substitute it with? Or what do I do? And so, what we do is we work with people. So we, put together a program based on your needs, the foods that's best for you, the herbs that you should incorporate in your diet. And like I tell people, unless it's a chronic illness where it needs to be addressed immediately, you can start. So, 1 week you say, okay, if you were drinking soda, I'm going to eliminate sodas and refined sugars from my diet. Then the next week, I'm going to eliminate fried foods. I'm going to eliminate processed foods. And then you continue to do that. And then, we can give you a lot of recommendations, suggestions, recipes on what to incorporate, what to replace from those things that you're eliminating from your diet.
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
we do.
It's out of pocket. Especially, it depends what community you live in. So you don't necessarily need Whole Foods. You might need to leave your town and go shopping in a town that has different people than most of us in this room. And you will find, whether it's Garden City or Belmore or Merrick or those different areas, just go 1 or 2 towns over from your own town and go to their grocery store and tell me what you think.
So can I just say that I'm not necessarily a big fan of Whole Foods because I feel like they contradict themselves. If you're Whole Foods, then you wouldn't be selling GMO food and conventional fruits and vegetables. That's just my take on it.
And I can just tell everybody that Whole Foods is not, they're just expensive for no reason.
Exactly.
So I hate to say it, but that's the truth. And you can find a lot of
Other-
information on the internet about Whole Foods. And I could just tell everybody that Amazon bought them.
Absolutely.
And Amazon is a company that does so many things that are not in the best interest of any of us here.
Yeah, research Jeff Bezos. Yeah.
Whole Foods is another marketing campaign to make certain people wealthy. You had a question?
Oh,
Yes. Excellent. I know the section you're talking about. I shop in there too, and also they have um, different things that are not commonly found in America that are more natural inside that same area. So I encourage all of you to visit that area in the supermarket and ShopRite because you'll find some good things there. In ShopRite, it's in the produce section, but it's an organic section, and they have a lot of good stuff there. It's more expensive, but it's worth it. But it's worth it.
It also it also depends on, the brand, because some of the herbs, they do use pesticides and chemicals when they're growing it. So you have to be careful.
Yes. Let's just think of it like this. The tea is from leaves, right? So the teas that you should be you should be seeing something. If it's all ground up, it's most likely not tea, and it's probably full of pesticides. If you see chamomile tea, they sell it inside of a package where you actually just have all the chamomile. Looks like little tiny flowers. You can boil that. That's gonna be good. And how you can think of it is if you need to add sugar to whatever tea you're drinking, most likely it's not any good because you should be able to drink any good natural tea without sugar.
Well, to be honest with you, just you shouldn't be adding sugar to any of your teas, because when you use sugar, you then break down the efficacy of the tea, the potency of the tea. So you don't want to. But going back to what you were saying about organic, also when you're buying organic produce, there should be a sticker on the produce, and it should start with the 9. Anything that doesn't start with the 9, it's not organic. So sometimes they like to play games, especially in our community, where they'll have like a big sign, organic, and then if you look at the stickers on the apples, it starts with a 4. That's not organic. Yes, I'm sorry. Going back.
The general rule is 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. All these things with your body weight. I mean, we have issues of obesity now that we can't control that easily because everything is processed. So you can work as hard as you want, but if you're eating the general things that society offers in America, you're going to be overweight unless you have an extremely high metabolism or some other issue. So it's a challenge. So, we're going to wrap things up. We thank you for your attention. And we have a couple of more minutes, so we could probably take one or two more questions. But
So, so,
thanks,
so
sir.
yeah, so this was like a broad overview, but then Bishop Mackey, I think, wants to have a series, and then we're going to kind of like segment them. So it'll be, one on foods, and then we'll break it down according to what you want. Yes, I'm sorry, sir. You had a question? Yes. Yes, hi.
Well, it depends on that's a that's a broad area. It depends what medications they are. So even I agree with what you said for the most part. You should be able to fast no matter what condition you have. So if you're diabetic and you took insulin, then you might not want to fast then. But if you wake up and you're feeling okay and you didn't take insulin to lower your blood sugar and then you have to eat something, you have to just think about what you're doing. But you are right. It's in the Bible. We should be able to fast without a problem. And I can tell you that the fasting is what is going to help all of us in here the most, because all of us are full with these toxins and all the different things that we're getting, whether it's pesticides, whether it's the toxic chemicals that we're putting in our skin, washing our hair with. We need a detox. We need to fast, and we will all get better.
So I also want to just add to that that digestion takes the most energy from the body. So when you're fasting, you're then allowing you're then allowing your body to use its energy to heal and repair and rebuild. Mhm. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Well, we're what? What- We'll be back.
Thank you, Bishop Mackey.
This is good. This is excellent. Excellent. We just need to fill this house next month. It's every third Wednesday night, 7:30. This the theme of this is your health is your wealth. Now, 30 minutes presentation and then 30 minutes entertainment, about 20-minute entertainment questions and so forth. And I'm not imposing, but if it can stay a few minutes, someone want to ask something privately, then that's fine. But the house should be filled, but we realize we got a lot of people on the conference call, even some that don't even live here in New York. That's listening. And then like I said, Tabernacle Joy Church YouTube. You just go on that YouTube page and the presentation is there as well too. Okay. This is our Wednesday night, and the last thing we're going to do is receive our midweek offering. Those who desire